City Talks with Reuben Abati.
Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to another edition of your number one talk show, City Talks with Reuben Abati, on your number one lifestyle station, City 105.1 FM. On this show, we talk about stories of political and human interest that affect us as citizens of Nigeria and as members of the human community. Today, we'll be discussing the state of the nation and outlook for 2021. And to guide us through that today, we have a special guest. It is with great pleasure that we have with us here today Kola Ologbondiyan, the National Publicity Secretary of the People's Democratic Party. Kola Ologbondiyan is an indigene of Kaba in Kogi State of Nigeria. He holds an HSc from Kwara Polytechnic, Ilorin, Kwara State, a Bachelor of Arts degree in English from the University of Lagos, 1990, and a postgraduate degree in journalism from the Nigerian Institute of Journalism, Lagos, 1992. He started off his career at Leaders and Company, publishers of These Day newspapers. He was the special advisor, media and publicity to the President of the Senate, Senator David Mark, before assuming the position of National Publicity Secretary of the People's Democratic Party. If you want to be part of this conversation, you can call us on 0700-1051-1051 or leave comments on WhatsApp 09099164403 and on our social media accounts at City1051 on Zoom, Twitter, and Facebook. Kola Ologbondiyan, thank you very much for joining us on the program today. It's good to have you here. Thank you for honoring our invitation.
Thank you very much, Dr. Reuben Abati.
Yeah, thank you. Well,
and good afternoon, Nigerians.
Thank you. Well, this week you issued a statement saying that there are lessons to be learned from the experience of the U.S. presidential election and the aftermath, particularly this week that we've had quite dramatic events in the United States. But you said you noted that the lessons are for the APC. Shouldn't the lessons be for everyone, every stakeholder in democracy? Is it fair to single out the All Progressives Congress? Must we play politics with everything?
Dr. Abati, you will agree with me that the lesson is to be learned essentially by the All Progressives Congress and members of the President Muhammadu Buhari administration. You will recall that what happened in the Congress of the United States had also happened in Nigeria under the APC government. You will recall that not long ago, the mace, the symbol of authority of the National Assembly, particularly the Senate, was stolen by a member of the APC or by thugs attracted by the senator elected on the platform of All Progressives Congress. You will also understand the manner in which our democracy has been assailed under the governance or the misrule of the All Progressives Congress. On account of this, I came short of saying that Donald Trump must have had an advisor elected on the platform of, who is a member of the All Progressives Congress in the United States, because what happened in the last 1 week was totally unknown in the history of the US, or maybe in the contemporary history of the United States. And they all had semblances of what we had gone through in the misrule of the All Progressives Congress. So for us in the People's Democratic Party, it's a lesson to the All Progressives Congress and the Buhari administration that there is a need to allow our democratic institutions to get very, very strong. But for the strong institutions of the United States, Trump would have overrun the US, and by now, it would have been a different story. So we believe that from what happened in the US, Nigerians are more strengthened to allow our democratic institution to grow, but we need the cooperation of the All Progressives Congress and the Buhari administration.
Well, I still insist that I don't share your view that this is strictly about the All Progressives Congress. I mean, you are talking like a politician, but I'm also aware that you are primarily a journalist. If you were to talk as a journalist, writing an essay on the experience in the United States, you are not likely to limit it to APC. I want you to wear that your cap as a journalist and talk to Africans generally in terms of what lessons we can draw from what happened. No partisanship.
Well, Dr. Abati, I'm happy for the fact that you recognize that I'm first and foremost a journalist. And I try to wear that cap always, even in representing my party. I have an understanding, and I believe many Nigerians also do, that we have no other nation except Nigeria. And as such, I try to come from the position of patriotism each time that I have to represent my party, or each time my party has a public statement to make. We believe in the People's Democratic Party largely, and I also believe as a Nigerian, and like you have rightly said as a journalist, that between the 1999 and 2015, our nation has gone beyond certain levels in the democratic order. But it's unfortunate, and whether the APC wants to hear this or not, it's unfortunate that they have taken us back. I mean, the Open Progressives Congress has taken us back even beyond where we are coming from. And that's the unfortunate situation. At least in the history of democratic governance under the People's Democratic Party, you cannot recall a situation in which talks will assail the hollowness of the parliament, the respect of the parliament, move into the chamber and carry a mace and run away. I'm not sure we ever had that kind of experience. So what we are saying in essence is that we have also not had a situation in which the security agents will be brazenly deployed to affect a democratic process. I'm not sure we had that between 1999 and 2015. We also never had a situation in which police helicopter will be used to rig election in a state. All these processes undermine our democratic culture, and all this manifested in the regime of President Muhammadu Buhari and the All Progressives Congress. And that's why we are saying that the APC in particular has a lot to learn. It does not now follow that other Nigerians who are being used to undermine the democratic culture of our nation will not also learn their lesson. But principally, the All Progressives Congress needs to take some lessons.
I see you prefer to talk about the APC, but there will be many of our listeners who will probably draw your attention to the fact that once upon a time, under the People's Democratic Party, someone took the mace and took it to his village. And yes, you know, but let's
and a presiding officer, not an external force, not a mercenary.
It's okay, no problem. But that's by way of historical fact. But zoning of the presidency in 2023 is a major issue out there. One of the feelers we're getting is that the APC has a gentleman's agreement that the presidency in 2023 will be zoned to the south. And more specifically, some people say to the southwest. And we've been having a conversation around that. Has the PDP taken a decision on zoning? And if you say no, is there a possibility that the APC will choose to zone the presidency to the north in 2023? What's the kind of conversation that is going on within your party?
Well, prior to the Christmas vacation, there had been no decision on zoning in the People's Democratic Party. And even as we speak, no decision has been taken on zoning. But it's important to state categorically that in the constitution of the People's Democratic Party, zoning is recognized. And it's a zoning between the north and the south, not geopolitical zoning. Even those of us who are holding offices in the party, were elected on the basis of what position was zoned to the first to the south and to the north, and from these positions, further zoning to the respective geopolitical zones. Like I always love to say, the People's Democratic Party is a structured political party. We have organs like the National Convention, like the NEC, like the NWC, like the zonal committees, like local government, states, wards, and we have forums like the Governor Forums, the Former Ministers Forum, the Forum of Senators. We have all manner and all kinds of organs. Before decision is taken in the People's Democratic Party, the various major organs of the party will have their own conversations, looking at the variables that will affect the situation. Then a decision will be taken. We do not know what is happening in the All Progressives Congress. And being a sitting government, they know what they agreed among themselves and the plots that they had among themselves. But in the People's Democratic Party, a decision is yet to be taken. Dr. Reuben Abati, when the party arrives at its decision in regards of zoning, we will make it public.
The issue in Nigerian politics is about the role of women in public life, particularly in politics. We've been on this since 1999. I believe that the PDP has a clause about 35% representation to be reserved for women. And in that regard, certain concessions are made to women. But even in spite of that, we've not seen any substantial increase in the representation of women, particularly in elective positions. What steps are being taken within your party to make sure that in 2023 this will be different, that there will be more women coming from the PDP and that women will be encouraged to win elections and to occupy strategic positions in government through your platform?
Well, thank you very much. As you recall, the 35% allocated position to women was a major pet project of the People's Democratic Party. And while we're in government, you will agree with me, because we are also in the cabinet, in one of the cabinets under the People's Democratic Party. You will agree with me that largely the People's Democratic Party allow women and even encourage women participation. Currently, under our guidelines, we allow women who are members of our party to pay only, they don't normally pay for nomination fee, they only pay a small amount as expression of interest. However, if a form is sold for 1 million, for instance, to contest in an office, and you are a woman, you are at liberty to only pay maybe a fraction that goes for expression of interest, maybe like 100,000 naira, while you are not expected to pay for the nomination fee. This is part of the encouragement that our women in the People's Democratic Party benefit from. And even if you look at the parliament as we speak, at least a chunk of representation of women in the parliament today are from the People's Democratic Party. We'll keep improving, but our target is 35% and even beyond. And I want to assure the Nigerian women that their place of pride, their best place to contest election, where they can have freedom and access, is in the People's Democratic Party.
Let's go to a commercial break. After that, we'll come back to you, Kola Ologbondiyan. Please stay with us. We'll be right back.
City Talks with Reuben Abati.
Well, Kola Ologbondiyan, thank you for staying with us. You had been talking about women representation. But let's talk about COVID-19 and the search for vaccines and this second variant of the virus, which has become a major concern for many Nigerians. I know you are naturally critical of how the ruling government handles many of these issues, But if it were to be a PDP government in power, how would your party have handled the situation, let's say, differently?
Well, thank you very much. I don't know whether we have to address the first wave or the second wave, but let me take them together. You remember the Ebola situation in this country under the People's Democratic Party. And I can also recall that it was in an administration in which you served. And you will recall the effectiveness of the management of that situation, which helped our nation hugely and ensure that there was no spread, or there was a limited spread of the situation and a limited fatality. But what we find in this government is this poor sense of response. For instance, how can we contemplate going to Madagascar to go and collect or to go and negotiate agbo? Under the current situation, and I say it even personally, I engage in domestic protocols, like the use of agbo, and I also tell my friends, because, for instance, I come from a local community, and even where there was advent of medication, we were made to deploy the use of some local herbs, which we are also curative. Has the government encouraged Nigerians in that direction? I don't think there's any community you go to in Nigeria that they don't have some level of use of local herbs to cure illnesses. Have we tried any? There are local people around us who will talk about, if you take leaves of a dongoyaro tree, if you take leaves of guava trees, if you take lemongrass, if you put garlic, if you boil it, if you can steam it, if you can bath with it, they make all manner of suggestions. There are people who have tried it, who have used them, and who have come out of coronavirus or any other ailment, for instance. Then, how much of researches has our government encouraged, even in the area of medication? How many of our doctors have been sponsored? All that the PTF does is to come out and announce the number of people who have been affected by coronavirus, the number of people who have died, and the number of people who have survived. I hardly hear them talk about, through researches, this is what we have achieved. I hardly hear them say that, we have improved in so and so area. So if you feel this way, adopt this measure. Under the People's Democratic Party, I believe that by now, we have allowed researchers to go into the field and bring up suggestions on how the situation can be best managed. Then when you talk about welfare, I heard that talking about another lockdown, and I just pray that we don't get to that stage in this country, because I don't know how we are going to outlive another experience of a lockdown in a situation where government will abandon everybody to his or her fate. So before they contemplate the next lockdown, I hope the government will improve on its human relations, on what they plan, on their plans for Nigerians, particularly those who live on daily basis, those who must go out to work on regular basis before they can earn a living. And I speak about the vulcanizers, I speak about the mechanics, I speak about the drivers who drive commercial vehicles. I speak to sellers of perishable items who, if they don't take their stocks to the market, it will perish. And no government anywhere has been able to say that, because of the kind of business that you do and you sell perishables, if what happened to your products, this is how you're going to start your business all over again. We don't have that situation. So I believe that, and even when you go around the states where PDP governors are in charge, you will see a world of a difference compared to whatever APC claim to be doing. But I don't want to sound political.
Well, but in fairness to the ruling government, the federal government, and the presidential task force, they are not even considering another national lockdown because they think that they will be counterproductive If anything, they are already talking about vaccines, getting vaccines between the end of January and the early weeks of February. And they've also put out information as to the order in which those vaccines will be administered. Guidelines have also been provided for state governments. I don't know if you want to respond to specific details in terms of what the ruling government has done. They have said, for example, that the president, the vice president, and other strategic national leaders would even take the vaccine first on national television. But here you are saying that if the PDP were to be in power, the PDP would be looking for herbal solutions, the same herbal solutions that failed in Madagascar.
Well, I'm not saying in totality that the PDP will be looking for herbal solutions in totality. I'm suggesting as part as what we should look into. And also don't forget, Dr. Reuben Abati, that I did say that what is the percentage of researchers, what number of researchers in medical has government put out on researches as solution? That's the question. You are talking about purchasing vaccine. And I'm saying, to what use have we put our medical experts in respect of COVID-19? To what use have we allowed researches into the issue of coronavirus domestically, not just relying on what the other worlds are doing? That's the point I'm making. I'm not saying that in totality it has to be herbal. And I hope you understand that, sir.
Clear? Well, the president has charged the Nigerian military to make sure that insurgency ends by the end of 2021. A military chief has also been quoted as saying that the problem of insecurity will have been effectively solved by the year 2023. Do you think that these promises are achievable?
I don't know how their strategic plans in order to be able to know the timelines or to agree with them on timelines. But I know that this will not be the first time that President Muhammadu Buhari or the military chiefs will provide a timeline to an end of insurgency. And I know it as a fact, just like any other Nigerians do, that they have not achieved those timelines. And it's even strange that in an asymmetric war, that any strategic military officer will be putting timeline. Does it now mean, or does it suggest that they know where the insurgents are, and they know the time they will go and take them off and stop their actions? Is that what they are saying? These guys are just buying time. How many times have we been told? I even remember a situation in which they put months, that by the end of so number of months, there will be no more insurgency. We are talking about an asymmetric war. So Nigerians have demanded of President Muhammadu Buhari. And when I say Nigerians, even eminent Nigerians, including the People's Democratic Party and the two chambers of the National Assembly, that Mr. President should review his parade and also rejig his military architecture. What Nigerians are asking for is that why is it so difficult for Mr. President to take a decision on that? Why is it this difficult? Rather than making promises to us as Nigerians and telling us that, oh, we need so and so number of years, we need so and so number of months, there will be an end to it. Why don't they end it now? Why don't they listen to the advice, to the voice of reasoning of Nigerians, demanding a rejig of the security architecture? Why is that more difficult?
Let's talk about education. The National Universities Commission has directed Nigerian universities to reopen by January 18. But ASU, the Union of Nigerian Lecturers, is still saying that the Nigerian government has not honored its latest agreement with university teachers, and that having not done so, it will be difficult for them to return to work. How do you think government can handle these perennial strikes within the university system?
Honestly, Dr. Abati, after 10 months of our children staying at home without going to school, I do not think this should be left in the hands of government alone. I want to admit and I want to agree that largely government has failed in handling this matter. So I think the leaders of this country, irrespective of party, irrespective of creed, irrespective of ethnicity, irrespective of religion, should come together and appeal to us that as they continue their negotiation, students should be allowed to return to school and lecturers should teach our students. This is a personal appeal. If they continue the grandstanding with government, I do not think our children will be able to graduate at their expected time. As such, this is an appeal that we are making. Let teachers return to class. Let the leaders of our nation, irrespective of divides, come together and engage with ASU. This is my personal advice.
Well, Kola Ologbondiyan, we're beginning to have questions from some of our listeners. This one is from Yemi Adeogun. He says, with the level and state of things in Nigeria today, are you optimistic that PDP will win the presidency in 2023? Do you have enough basis to convince Nigerians to vote for your party?
Well, for me, for our party, the People's Democratic Party, if we look at the reasons for which the PDP was voted out in 2015, I believe that one, our situation was not as awful as it is under President Muhammadu Buhari. And I also believe that in whichever angle or whichever aspect of life we look at, we have become drawn back beyond where the People's Democratic Party left our nation. It's in the economy that President Muhammadu Buhari was expected to revive or to re-engineer according to their promise. Is it on corruption that President Muhammadu Buhari claimed he will come and cleanse? And today, we are worse off. In fact, there's a common story on the streets of Nigeria that they sacked gold stealers, and went to bring in elephant stealers. Or is it in the area of insurgency that we are discussing? Before President Goodluck Jonathan left office in 2015, insurgency had been forced to the fringes of the Northeast. And I said recently, when I listened to the last address of Alhaji Lai Mohammed, he was talking about bomb throwing up, but he stopped in 2012 in his analysis, in his narrative. He stopped at 2012. He had nothing to say about 2013. He had nothing to say about 2014, which is an admission to him that by 2014, insurgency has been pushed off. But where are we today? We are under bandits. We are under vandals. We are under kidnappers. And there's no restraint. The entire nation is a minefield for kidnappers, for insurgents, for vandals, for bandits. And I believe that, but for the brigandage that APC brought into campaign in 2013, 2014, into 2015, and the kind of vicious campaign that they engaged in, stopping the People's Democratic Party administration from putting a permanent end to the issue of insurgents, Nigeria would have been better off today. So I believe that if the People's Democratic Party is returned into office in 2023, Nigeria will be a better place. One of my reasons for the assertion is the fact that our party has learned our mistakes. And if you look at the membership of our party today, those who committed the hugest of corruption that they complained about in 2015 have all shifted to the All Progressives Congress. And as a matter of fact, you will remember the cliche of the past national chairman of APC, Comrade Adams Oshomode, who said that once you come into the APC, your sins are forgiven. And if you look at the performance rating of our governors, those elected on the platform of the PDP in our respective states, you can see that every day our governors are commissioning projects. You won't find that in the All Progressives Congress. All what the governors of APC is doing today is chasing after power. They are holding meetings, they are balkanizing their party. As a matter of fact, they have even sent the party out of existence, all because of 2023. But our own governors, the governors elected on the People's Democratic Party, based on the encouragement of the party, are working for the people.
We'll take calls from our listeners on Zoom, on Twitter, on WhatsApp, and also if you have any comments or questions for Kola Ologbondiyan, the spokesperson of the People's Democratic Party, who has been commenting on a number of issues. Please join us on City Talks with Reuben Abati. Do we have a first caller out there? Okay, while we're waiting for callers to join us, well, Kola Ologbondiyan, let me ask you, do you think that schools should reopen on January 18? Because that's another major issue out there. Because the Nigerian Union of Teachers, the National Academy of Science, the Nigerian Medical Association have all said that given the second wave that we're experiencing, it may be better to tarry a while. What's your take on that?
Well, if that is the position of the experts, that we should tarry a while, I will have no objection to their position because it's their own area of strength and they're in the best position to advise Nigerians.
Caller on the line. We lost that call. Okay. If you are just joining us, our guest is Kola Ologbondiyan. And you can reach out to us on 0700 1051 1051. We have a caller, right? Hello, your name, your location, and then your question or comment.
My friend over there is on point. Whatever he said about the APC government, yeah, political life, yeah, consistency in their words, they're all right. So, if there will be change in this country, there should be PDP that should come in and do the change. Since the APC has failed us, that's my own opinion.
Okay, that person is basically a PDP member agreeing with everything you have said, Kola Ologbondiyan. Well, we have another caller.
Dr. Abati, it's not only PDP members that will agree with what I'm saying. Majority of Nigerians are in agreement.
Okay, let's take this caller on the line.
Good afternoon, Dr. Abati.
Afternoon. Your name, your location, and then your question or
One
comment.
is calling from Aja.
Hi.
I want to ask Mr. Ologbondiyan. So let's say PDP is the ruling party now when the SR is happening. How do they handle the SR if it is PDP? That's my question.
Adam?
I didn't hear him, Doctor.
Well, he said if the PDP were to be in government, how would the PDP have handled the NSAS protests? NSAS.
Thank you very much. On the NSAS protest, I believe that if PDP was in government, it would not even have occurred. Because, as we know, the People's Democratic Party had space for youth participation. And throughout the duration of PDP in government, is it in the area of appointments? Is it in the area of election, of elective positions that the youths were not taken care of? None. So I believe that if PDP was in government, NSAS would not have happened. And I say so also because there's no way that under Jonathan, President Goodluck Jonathan, a man who came out and said the life of any Nigerian is not worth his ambition, will have called out the military to go and attack unarmed youths. And in protestation, we had a series of protests under the People's Democratic Party administration. But because the PDP has a huge respect for human rights, nobody will claim to have been stopped from protests. Even in situations where Nigerians were calling our president unprintable names, the People's Democratic Party, either as a party or as a government, did not pull the gun against the youth. But the unfortunate thing today is that we have a vicious administration and a very vicious political party. And they care less. All they're interested in is grabbing of power. And once they grab the power, they have no use for it. It is only in APC that I see that from one tenure to another, the interest of those elected into office is how to hold election. They are not prepared for showcasing their achievements, but they are only prepared for election. And not that they can participate in a free, fair, credible election. No. When election comes, they are thinking of, oh, what volume of military are we going to deploy? What number of civil defense? What number of policemen are we going to use? And how do we manipulate the electoral body to just announce? That's why I said, that's why the People's Democratic Party, in our last public statement, said that the APC and the Buhari administration has a lot to learn from growing our political and democratic institutions.
We have another caller on the line. Your name, your location, and your question or comment.
Yeah, good evening, Dr. Reuben Abati. You have our city letter from Norway right now. And good afternoon.
Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thank you. I totally, first of all, disagree with you. Everything you have said, I disagree with you because number one, there's no political party in Nigeria. Both PDP and APC are partners in the business of destroying Nigeria. They have succeeded in destroying this country together. Both of them, let us see it. And he made mention of defining the democracy. It happened in Rivers State when the honorable member was beaten, almost killed in the chamber of Rivers State. It also happened in Ogun State. It's still seen. We saw what happened in Oyo State during Adedibu's time. So you should not come and deceive people here. I like the way you put it in that they should be non-partisan. And when politicians, from any political party, when they come on board, they always assume that Nigerians are fools. This is not the case. It becomes a very hopeless situation and at times hopeless. Yeah, we have your party. What is the ideology of the party? And even the APC. So as far as I am concerned, all of you, what you are just doing is just to grab power, to enrich yourself and impoverish Nigeria. You are not thinking about the people.
Kola Ologbondiyan, you heard him. He's saying
no. Can you please let me know what he said?
Well, what he said basically is that the PDP cannot pretend to be.
You are not loud, Doctor.
Hello, can you hear me now?
You are very faint. You are sounding very faint.
Well, he says the PDP cannot pretend to be holier than thou. That there is no difference as far as he is concerned between the PDP and the APC. That there are no political parties in Nigeria. That politicians just come together with the purpose of serving their own interests and destroying the country. Well, he says he disagrees with everything.
In as much as I do not agree with the last speaker, we cannot hand Nigeria over to touts or hand over Nigeria to animals. It is still human being that will come and conduct the affairs of our nation. When people say that, oh, PDP, we don't want PDP, we don't want APC, it sounds amusing to me. What brought us here to where we are today is the dictum of, oh, APC is corrupt, we don't want APC. APC must go. And you forget that it is the same people in the APC, in the PDP, who were creating issues for the nation that discovered that the way they were going, oh, Nigerians were not going to entrust them with power again. They quickly jumped out and created another party from their fellows hanging around and came into government and have brought our nation into a worse situation. So the issue is not about parties. The issue about the quality of the people that we are electing into office. So as far as we are concerned, the People's Democratic Party, we have redefined our party, we have reinvented it, and we are making it available to Nigerians. And we are going to allow Nigerians to choose the kind of leaders that will preside over their affairs at the end of time in 2023. So it's not enough to say, oh, okay, no, PDP is terrible, APC is terrible, we're going to look for another party. We are talking about a political party that will cut across 774 local governments of our nation. And you want to form it overnight and hand over the responsibility of governance to it. They will take us on a journey to nowhere, the same way APC has done. So, my dear compatriots, what we should be thinking about is the quality of people that we are going to elect on the platform of the People's Democratic Party in 2023. Thank you.
Okay, do we have another caller on the line out there? Okay, we'll take another short commercial break. After that, the program will continue. Our guest is still Kola Ologbondiyan, spokesperson of the People's Democratic Party.
City Talks with Reuben Abati.
And our guest is still Kola Ologbondiyan, spokesperson of the People's Democratic Party of Nigeria. Well, Kola Ologbondiyan, you've been very critical of the federal government of Nigeria. Is there something that you will say that they've been able to do right? Because no political party can be completely bad. I'll give you an example. President Buhari, for 2 years running, has been able to deliver the budget, the annual budget, within the December to January cycle. Isn't that something to be commended? He did it for the 2020 budget. He has done it again for the 2021 budget. And yet we are aware that for 20 years under PDP, that was not achievable.
Dr. Abati, well, having been in government before, I'm surprised at this question. And I'm surprised because I think it's not about budgeting process or about the timeline of when budget was passed before the National Assembly and when it was signed into law by the executive. I think the issue about budgeting is on the impact on the ordinary Nigerian out there. And I'm sure you agree with me on that. Even if a budget is signed into law and is implemented effective from January 1st to December 31st of the fiscal year, and it has no impact, of no significance to the life of the ordinary people there. It's just like another tried paper on the street. What is the impact of the budgeting? Towards the end of this last year of 2020, of the year 2020, you are aware that even some staff of federal government could not earn their salaries. Was that not budgeted for? What's the impact of deficit budget? A budget that people go about all over the world borrowing in order to fulfill. I think that we will be commending the budget. It has an improvement on your life and my own life too, and on the lives of the ordinary people out there. What's the impact of the budget? So we should commend the budget because it was read and brought to the National Assembly and passed into law and signed by Mr. President, and its commencement date is January 1st, and yet it has no impact on the lives of the people.
Well,
Dr. Abati, I want to assure you that the reform that the People's Democratic Party will bring in 2023 is going to touch on every life of governance, every aspect of governance, taking off from the cost of governance, the fact that the country can no longer manage what to spend on governance, the need for a restructuring that will touch on devolution of power, and the fact that the PDP, like we promised in 2019, will work on the restructuring that will allow for true federalism. But I don't think I should let out the total pie out of the kitchen. Maybe I should wait for the outcome of the report of the committee that the party is going to set up in the first quarter of this year on the need to review the manifestos of our party.
okay, we have another caller on the line out there. Somebody has been trying to reach us. If you just... hello? Okay, we lost that caller. Okay, well, is the PDP planning to change its manifesto? And if that is the plan, what are some of those things we should expect?
Just let us some of the things that we expect in the review of the party manifesto ahead of 2023. Some of them were part of our campaign in 2019. Because our belief in the People's Democratic Party is that we need a review of the manifesto to meet the exigencies of the current time. And as such, in the first quarter of this year, just like we consider a committee for national reconciliation of members of our party, we consider on that committee under Senator Ike Ekweremadu to look into the constitutional amendment and amendment to the Electoral Act. We're also going to constitute a committee that will review the manifestos of our party.
Well, let's just take one final caller before we call it a day.
Hello?
Hello, please go ahead.
Please, why do we give so much credit to our president and the SEC government? When they stand, your parents send you to school to go and study. They give you all the necessary requirements. They think that everything is stupid, and you went there, you failed. People is blame. When they go president, the budget of Nigeria should be so that it should know how to work. If before the time you have been provided before the time, but that is only what we do. You don't go far. Mind it, and it's not do the job. We have to do for him. So what?
To hear him, maybe the volume of his radio.
What did he say?
Well, I didn't hear him either. There was too much, interference there. But then, well, I think we have to wrap it up at this point. I would like to thank you very much, Kola Ologbondiyan, for taking time out to discuss various issues with us. Well, we remain optimistic that Nigeria will become greater. And many thanks also to those who called in and those who participated on Zoom, Twitter, and Facebook. Remember, the conversation does not end here. You can reach out to me on my social media account at Abati1990, both on Instagram and Twitter, and at City1051 on all social media platforms. For those of you who tuned in late, no need to worry. You can visit our YouTube page, City1051, to watch the entire show in a couple of minutes. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button. And don't forget also to tune in next week at noon for another exciting edition of City Talks. My name is Reuben Abati. The show was produced by Adedoja Allen, Abiodun Odunton, Ayodamola Oludara, Oluwaseun Adetitun, and Olanrewaju Onipede Jr. Have a great weekend. Thank you for joining us.
City Talks with Reuben Abati.